You coming and telling them what they should do is always going to be received with more resistance than if they come up with this themselves. Do you want to convince them that it's a bad idea to do 9 to 11K versus 75K? How can they realize this by themselves without you having to tell them, hey, you do a huge mistake and so on, and then they'd be like, yeah, of course he wants to sell his expensive websites, maybe you don't even need that. Like, hey, you charge usually 75K and they were pitched like around 9 to 11K and you said it would be a catastrophe. My question for you, do you have examples of competitors or people in a similar industry that either you helped or that you know of that have set up something similar at a price range like you are offering? And can you therefore somehow compare what it would look like, or what the difference is between a 9 to 11K project versus a bigger project? Just so you understand the philosophy, you coming and telling them what they should do is always going to be received with more resistance than if they come up with this themselves. That's a general law in psychology and human behavior. So you want to convince them that it's a bad idea to do 9 to 11K versus 75K. So now the question is, how can they realize this by themselves? That will be the best, without you having to tell them, hey, you do a huge mistake and so on. And then they'd be like, yeah, of course he wants to sell his expensive websites. Maybe you don't even need that. If they have a competitor of theirs in their mind that they know is a bit bigger than them, that they look up to, that these competitors have used a bigger project, this would be a really good way of showing them. Do you know the biggest names in your industry? Do you know these guys? And chances are everybody in the space knows them. Yeah, we know them for sure. Great. Cool. Do you know what type of website they have and how much the setup costs to create the website and the UX and the UI and so on they have? No, I have no idea. I know exactly because we helped similar clients like him. And this is usually in the range of 75K, right? You can say. And then they're like, oh, what do you feel like is the difference between an offer like this and an offer like 9 to 11K? Then you're using the respect that this competitor has for them and they want to be like them maybe. That they, okay, to get to that level, I also need to invest into a proper setup and not in like a cheap solution. So for you to want to get to that level like the competitor, how do you feel like important is it to invest into a proper website, and to proper setup? So that's the questions you should ask. Oh yeah, I guess you're right. I guess like it is probably important to invest into something bigger. That's the way to get them to this point. The good news is you have a lot of potential for improvement in your sales process, because the fact that you've been going back and forth over email shows this should have happened on a second call. And you should have been more assertive on the call when they tell you, oh, we can't tell you a budget. Then you should be saying like, okay, I hear you. To give you some context, we work with very big clients, and then you mention someone that's way bigger than them, that's an authority client that you work with. And then, of course, we work with smaller clients, and then you mention something slightly lower than they are, but in a range where they are as well. And as you can imagine, in both cases, the proposal looks completely different. And to be able to judge that, what we need would be a range that we can start with. So if it got you, and then you try to position this, before you talked about their revenue goals, why it is important to get to improve that, and always connect it with a result of more time or more revenue. And so you said in the next 6 months, you would like to get to X. So, and then you would say, so to get to X, what funding would you have available in what range to, achieve that into that project? And the good thing is when you say you want to get to 5 million or you want to get to 10 million, 50 million, what's the funding you have for optimize? Do you see how that price anchors it? It price anchors that to get there, it would sound weird to talk about, a few K. So it's absolutely normal then to invest more into this. That's why you have to directly say, hey, look, at this stage, this is the info we need first to be able to craft a proper budget. And that's why what I suggest is, who is the decision maker in your company who decides on projects like this and who also has that information? And then it's like, okay, how can we get John, whatever, on the next call so we can finalize this together? Because you can say, hey, I can already give it some thought. However, to finalize this proposal, we need to talk together on the next call. That's it. And then you get the decision maker on the call. then you already have a little bit something prepared, get the final details that were missing. And then if there's enough time, you can then transition directly into the pitch phase, explain the general overview of how you work, especially like we show it in the training. And then if necessary, and they don't close directly because it's a bigger company, you can still set up a follow-up call, send a proposal in between the two calls so that they have something in written, all of that. But the key is you want to get their reaction to your presentation on the call, and you want to temperature check them. You want to be like, okay, yeah, thinking about it, talking to your co-founder aside, all of that makes sense. Do you like the idea? Do you feel like that's what you're looking for to get to X with improving the UI? And then you listen to tonality, how does it sound? And then from 1 to 10 and all of that. So that's all in the training. But because the problem is, if you don't get that info directly, you're blind and you're sending out proposals, but you have no idea what they think about it. The good thing about all of this is you have huge potential still for improvement, which is amazing in the sales process, which makes it easier in the future. So I would implement those. And then also another thing is, how did they talk to you when you had a call? Was it a Zoom call? Have a Calendly link where if they reach out via email, they book in that call via Calendly, and one part of that is that they leave their phone number. They will never give a wrong phone number because obviously you might think they might even call you or whatever. You want to be reliable. You give your real phone number. If you're actually interested, you book a Zoom call. That means the phone numbers are always correct, meaning afterwards, if something happens, you can always call them. Really important. Okay, don't do this anymore. Don't book through other people's links and things like that. Have your own link. Here, my availability, we can have a call, have it in there. And there you can even also have a few screening questions directly. In case you're like, hey, you might feel like you're wasting your time. Just general questions. How big is the company? What's the biggest challenge? Things like that. And you can check out what we have, for example, on my website. We have a few screening questions. But just a few of them to their website, how big the company is, things like that, to see it's a solid lead, something like this. Then when they book in, then you can have an automation that when a call gets booked from that link, it triggers an automation, an active campaign, for example, or an email automation that sends them a nurturing sequence. Like 1-2 emails that says, hey, I see you booked a call with us here, find a few case studies from us. And you send like links to the case studies. Directly gets people more warmed up before the call. So take one at a time. What should be in front of you right now should be the calls. Getting that script ready, do the calls, because this is where you can have the biggest return to get more calls booked in, and then also practice the closing. When you are competing with others, make sure that you ask about that. That's part of the solution awareness questions. Have you reached out to anyone else to get help with this in the past? And then you ask, okay, cool, great. Where are you in the decision-making process with those things? And be direct. Ask about this. Be always asking. Have you talked to them already? Yeah, we had a call already. Great. Will you have more calls with them still? Yeah, we have something lined up for next week. Yeah, great. Talk to them as well. No problem at all. Great. So, and then from there, you keep that in mind, but you position your solution always ideally at the end, at the last call. You ask, okay, how many more providers are you looking at? No, it's just going to be those 3. You're one of them. Okay, fantastic. Great. And then you're basically, okay, I would like you to talk to all of them first. No problem, get the understanding. And then once you talk to everyone, we have our next call, come up with the plan, and then we can see if it's a fit. And then you position yourself at the end, and then you have the recency bias. All from our sales training, from the script. First the triage, and then all of that from the strategy call. So definitely make time for this, because the better you do it, the higher you will close the deals, the higher percentage.
If you like this video, then definitely subscribe for more videos like that. And if you want to learn more how we can help, or just get any of the resources that we shared in this video, then definitely check the link in the description, or just make a comment under the video and we'll make sure to hook you up or send you all the info that you need. Looking forward and seeing you in the next video.